And now we are going to pass to our second video, and Tess is going to explain us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're moving right along into our Biocrust illustration. So this is it's a live illustration that Eliza, Noemie, and Lizah collaborated on together, and it's sped up really fast so that we can see it in real time. So we asked them if they could draw a biocrust formation, and they did a really fabulous job. This is a super dynamic, really interactive illustration, I think, and it's a lot of fun to watch. So while we're watching this, we'll kind of go over some stuff about biocrusts and what they are and their importance in our society. So first off, biocrusts are sometimes called the living skin of the earth. They are particularly found in dry lands, but they can occur all over the world. They do wonders at stabilizing soils. This is one of the main things that they do for our soils, but we'll get into some other points as well. And they are mainly photosynthetic communities. They're made up of cyanobacteria, microfungi, bacteria, lichens, and mosses. So cyanobacteria, algae, lichens, mosses, and liverworts are photoautotrophic, meaning they produce energy on their own from light. So as I mentioned, biocrusts can be found all over the world, including hot and cold deserts, as well as alpine regions and polar regions. They survive harsh conditions many other organisms cannot survive in. They form these beautiful little tiny forests that I almost imagine little fairies fluttering through and calling home. So the biocrust formation is influenced by a lot of things: climate, soil, water availability, the geographical location. So each one is very unique and hosts their own sort of microbial communities. The biocrusts can be very different, even if they are in the same location. I read this one paper that looked at 4 different sites within the Mojave Desert, and they found that each one had a distinct microbiome compared to the others. And biocrusts cover, if you're wondering, biocrusts cover about 12% of the global terrestrial land surface and about 30% of the global dry lands. Some biocrusts can be as thick as 10 centimeters, but many of them are only a few millimeters in thickness. So Angelica is now going to talk to us about one of the main microbes we find in our biocrusts.
Okay, so first of all, we're going to make a zoom to the soil that we are seeing here being drawn. And the first thing that appears in a biocrust is a bacteria called Cyanobacteria. And those Cyanobacteria are these long and green colored bacteria that you can see right now in the screen. And Cyanobacteria are a very special bacteria because they can carry out photosynthesis to obtain energy. This is a process that is known for plants because plants do that to obtain energy, but Cyanobacteria carry photosynthesis out also, which is pretty amazing. The most common cyanobacteria that you can find in biocrust are called Microcollios and nostoc. These are the ones that appear and start to develop and grow. And the main objective that they have is to synthesize on the inside polysaccharides and then excrete them to the environment. And these polysaccharides that are being colored in pink are the ones that start to glue all the soil particles together. So you begin to have clumps or soil and bacteria. And this allows for different microorganisms to gather, and the biocrust starts to grow.
So we're going to talk a little bit about another microorganism called lichen. So lichen is a symbiosis in the microbial world that happens between a fungi and an algae or a cyanobacteria. So they live together and form a symbiotic relationship, meaning that they sort of help each other out in different ways. So some lichens can grow as big as 3 feet tall, and other lichens can be thousands of years old. In fact, there's one in the Arctic that's called Rhizocarpon geographicum, which is thought to be 8,600 years old. So this is a pretty old organism. Lichens are not only found in biocrusts, but they cover 6% of the world. And chances are you have them right outside your door. If you've ever seen rocks or trees with strange crusty greens or yellows or oranges that kind of look like paint splotches, chances are this is a lichen. And from afar, they don't look like much, but if you take a magnifying glass up to them, you'll see that there is an intricate world in that little splotch of fake paint. So, however, lichens are very fragile. With just a little bit increase in pollution, they'll leave an environment. So if you live in a city that happens to be very polluted, you may not find any lichens in that environment. Lichens can be beautifully diverse, as we're seeing in this illustration here. The algae, or cyanobacteria, is the portion of the symbiosis that creates the that does the photosynthesizing, creating the energy for the organism. And the fungus kind of forms the structure. So that's a lot of the elements that you're actually seeing. And then I just want to talk a little bit about the different kinds of biocrusts that we have, because they can come in different kinds depending on what is the dominant organism. So if Cyanobacterium is the dominant organism in the biocrust, we call this Cyanobacterial biocrust. And we also have moss biocrust and lichen crust. So it all sort of depends on what you see in part of the biocrust. And then finally, I just want to mention a couple lichens that you can find in biocrust, which include Soria, Placidium, Colima, and Fulgencia. So, Angelica, why are biocrusts important?
Well, before telling you why they are important, I want to tell you about some other organisms that you can find in biocrusts. Like we said at the beginning, biocrusts are a mixture of different organisms. So cyanobacteria and lichens are not the only ones that inhabit these biocrusts. You also find different types of bacteria. The ones that are found in biggest proportions are actinobacteria, chloroflexi, and proteobacteria. And all of these are really important in the biocrust formation because they produce different compounds such as vitamins or antibiotics that help the biocrust grow. And also they allow the biocrust to defend itself from different pathogens that may arrive from the surrounding soil in the desert or in any other ecosystem. Besides bacteria, cyanobacteria, and lichens, you can find also mosses. Mosses are those small flowerless plants that you find in damp spaces. For example, if you go to the forest, you can find mosses growing on the surface of the trees near a river because the environment needs to be damp. And they also grow in biocrusts. And all this mixture of microorganisms are crucial for the ecosystems, such as deserts, because they play a lot of different roles. They contribute to the carbon pool. And well, as we all know, carbon is essential for any living organism to grow. And specific cyanobacteria like nostoc and lichens as Colima, they contribute with nitrogen fixation. Nitrogen is one of the compounds that is scarce on deserts. So the more we have, the better. And the fact that we have an increase in the carbon and nitrogen pool allows different plants to grow. So it's normal to see plants growing near biocrusts in the deserts. And while biocrusts also stabilize soils and prevent particles from blowing away when there is a dust storm, and this at the same time prevents soil erosion. And finally, biocrusts also help to retain moisture in the desert. And as we all know, sometimes water is difficult to find in these environments. So that's why biocrusts are really important, and we need to be more aware of their role in nature. So as you see, they are beautiful. Here they are being drawn. So now we're going to talk about which are the threats that biocrusts have. You are muted, Tess.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, but now we can't see the video.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. Little hiccup. No worries. Yeah, so biocrusts are extremely fragile. We talked a little bit about how fragile lichens can be, which is a huge component of these biocrusts. But look at how beautiful they are. And it doesn't take much to destroy all of this beauty. And one way that this can happen is through trampling or grazing of wildlife. Here we have a picture of a dog that's coming in and is about to destroy the biocross, which is why it's so important when you take your dogs to national parks and they say a leash law, keep your dogs on leashes to help protect the biocross. But this is not just dogs, it can be coyotes, it can be other wildlife as well. Sheep are also another big one, or cows as well. And why this is so devastating to these ecosystems is because it can take 30 to 40 years for a biocrust to come together, and maybe even longer for it to come back to its full functionality. But it's destroyed in an instant. Trampled biocrust can increase soil erosion. It also impacts the carbon and nitrogen concentrations in the soil, which can have compounding effects throughout the ecosystem. Because they are so slow growing, they are very fragile, and it's hard to research as well. And it also makes it hard to show their importance with the world. Another thing that ends up dismantling biocrusts is humans, and our own footprints that are trampling on these biocrusts can cause a lot of devastation. And human impact is projected to decrease biocrusts between 25 and 40% in the next 65 years. So it is an ecosystem that we definitely need to start protecting.
What you see that is appearing now on the screen is an invasive grass. These grasses are also one of the major threats that biocrusts need to face, because they tend to grow a lot to take up all the nutrients that you can find on the soil, and they grow until they occupy an incredibly amount of the surface that is available. And another thing that is really dangerous about these grasses is that they can act as fuel and start fires like the one that is happening right now. And these wildfires, like any other fire, can spread a lot and eventually kill all the microorganisms in the biocrust that took so long and made a lot of effort to grow until they become a healthy and big biocrust. The problem with these grasses is that they are usually not original from the desert. Usually it's us humans that take a grass that belongs to a different ecosystem and we take them to a place where they don't belong to. So they end up wiping out the plants that are native for this ecosystem. So it's something that we really need to care about. Also, we must not take seeds from different plants to our country when we come back from vacation, because the chances are that you may end up killing a lot of wildlife and biocrusts, like in this case. You're muted again and the video is gone. No, I can't hear you yet. Nope. No, I can't hear you. No, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, just the video is missing. Yeah,
I'll share it back. Cool. Thank you for bearing with us in all of this. So we don't want to end this on a super downer, and we want to talk a little bit about the resiliency of biology. So even when trampled and burned and disrupted by shovels, biology fights on. And these biocrusts, although fragile, are resilient. I read this one study that looked at the long-term effects of trampling on biocrusts. And this is a study that's called Response and Resilience of Soil Biocrust Bacterial Communities to Chronic Physical Disturbance in Arid Shrublands, which was published in ISME by Cheryl R. Kuski. And they looked at the desert sites in the Colorado Plateau in the United States of America. And particularly, they looked at sites that had experienced foot trampling for 10 or more years. Their results showed there was definitely a huge change in the ecosystems. They could show you that these biocrusts were not at their full potential. They could show you that there was less DNA in trampled biocrusts, and they could show you that there was less chlorophyll A, which is an indicator of photosynthesis. But they did find something that I think is a little hopeful in all of our biocrust destructions. Despite the traumatic destructions they found, there was still life in these biocrusts. And they were even able to find a keystone species in the biocrust known as Microcollios vaginitis in the trampled soils. So this means given enough time, the ecosystems have the ability to restore themselves. They are resilient and capable of forming over time if we let them.
Yes, exactly. And that's why scientists have put a lot of effort on studying how to restore and maintain these biocrusts. What you are seeing now is a trowel or a small shovel, and it probably belongs to a scientist that is arriving to the biocrust to take a sample, to dig a sample, to study a little bit more about these biocrusts. Scientists have found two different approaches to help restore biocrusts once they have been damaged. The first approach consists on taking the top 0.5 centimeters of the biocrust and then crumbling the sample into pea-sized fragments. And these fragments are then taken to the damaged biocrust and used as an inoculum. And they put the pea-sized fragments on the biocrust and just let time go by, so the microorganisms have enough time to develop, to thrive, and to interact with the microorganisms that are left in the damaged biocrust. This sounds amazing, but there is a downside, because for this to happen, you need to damage a healthy biocrust. So it's not win-win. You are damaging a biocrust that was already healthy in order to save another one. This is why a different approach has been taken in the last years. And it consists basically on growing cyanobacteria, especially Microcollios and nostoc, the first cyanobacteria that appear in a biocrust formation. Scientists take these cyanobacteria and start to grow them under control conditions with the right nutrients, the right temperature, and the right pressure, atmosphere, anything they need. And they grow them, they wait for them to develop enough so they have a lot of biomass. And once they have a considerable amount, they can take these laboratory grown cyanobacteria and take them to the field, use them as an inoculum, and just the same, wait until these cyanobacteria grow and help the biocrust to recover and to be healthy again. The problem with this is that you need to culture these cyanobacteria in the lab for 4 to 5 months, and you need to know at least the basics in microbiology. So we still need to do some more research.
Yeah, the last 2 decades have really been the time that scientists and researchers have dived into these biocrusts. So it's really a kind of new and exciting field to be in. And this last little piece of the video is showing acid rain and climate change having an impact on these biocrusts. So even if we start to restore these biocrusts on the land, our impacts on the climate may be destroying them anyways. And so it's just such a multifaceted problem that we really have to think about and come up with solutions to protect these very fragile yet beautiful ecosystems.
Yeah, that's right. So if you ever run into a biocrust, please treat it nicely. Don't step on it or anything like that, because they are really important for the environment. And if you like the drawing that you saw, as we said at the beginning, you can contact or follow in social media the artists that made it. On the right part of the screen, you can see the names: Eliza Wolfson, Noemie Matthey, and Lizah Aart with their corresponding Twitter accounts. So we hope you enjoyed watching this video, and now we're going to pass to another section about pigments, because we are really into art right now. Yeah, poor bacteria. I think you can almost hear them screaming with all the acid rain.
Yeah. And if you like this video, I believe it is on Twitter. It's on a couple other social medias too. So just go ahead and find them and you'll be able to watch this again. But they had a lot of fun making it, and we had a lot of fun kind of having this moment to share Biocross with you. And yeah, we hope you enjoyed it.